Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker needs no introduction. He's rightly called the big bull of the Indian capital markets. He just completed 60 years last week and is charging through the Indian markets with renewed vigor. Congratulations, sir. The big bull, the investor with the Midas touch, truly a living legend. No words can do justice to praise your acumen when it comes to equity investing. Your views on markets and stocks are the most sought after. Your optimism in midst of market crashes have calmed the nerves of many in the past. The most disillusioned investor of equities also wouldn't be able to help but get inspired by your success. You truly are the glamour quotient of stock market. He is in conversation with Mr. Naveen Agarwal, Managing Director of Motilal Oswal Group, and Mr. Ramdev Agarwal. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala.
Good evening.
Everybody aspires to be successful equity investors. So 35 years back, when you look back, could you see the spectacle which opened up, in front of us in the next 35 years? What are your kind of apprehensions at that point of time, excitement? You were that time also very bullish, but still the challenges.
I came to market with one idea that I read when I was about 17, 18 years old, that why capitalism will succeed. And I was a bureaucrat's son and I knew what this bureaucracy was doing to the country. And I felt that capitalism will prevail. And the true temples of capitalism are the stock markets. So I knew that capitalism will, the capitalist policies in India will shift, and then, the stock market will develop. I knew the direction. I will be lying if I knew, if I could predict that this was the kind of increase in volume or increase in market cap that I thought. At that stage, I must tell you very frankly, I never knew about compounding, right? This is after all a compounding effect.
Yeah.
So I must admit that I knew the direction, but I never knew the depth.
Mm-hmm.
And as it is, I have learned a lot of in my life by doing, observing, and following. So it's not that I know anything today also or everything. As events fold out, I think about them, I reminisce on them, I talk to people, and then I form opinion.
Mm.
So my opinion was always upward. I thought the direction is upward.
Mm-hmm.
That the index is going to be 40,000. It's like saying, I know I got come home late after having a lot of drinks. I know Rekha is going to fire me. I know that I'm going to get the firing, but I don't know how much. I know the direction. So I feel. I couldn't comprehend this kind of a change, but surely I knew the change was upward.
But now having seen because there is no way to figure out even the next 25, 30 years, isn't it? Again, we know the direction, but we don't know the quantum.
Absolutely.
But so if you look back, the best way to see the future is from the prism of the past. Some kind of what we have gone through. So don't you think that today the indices or matrices of India, a lot of things which are required for a country of this size to propel forward is far better today than what it was in 85.
Absolutely. See, Ramdev, that is the essence of democracy, When I say that democracy is very important, people laugh at me. But it's only in a democratic society where change takes place very slowly. It takes place firmly. But I feel ultimately all democratic societies decide what is in favor of that. So I'm confident that as in India, first of all, we have a culture of mildness. We are basically driven by an Hindu culture, which is because we're 85% Hindu. I'm not talking any religion or any religious term. So this culture drives us with a very mild. We are not extremes, right? And in a democratic society, whatever is, जो चीज का समय आ गया है वो हो जाओ. कैसे होता है, क्यों होता है? Could you have thought 3 years ago that the rate of tax on companies would be 25%? When we came to the market, my first on wealth, I told my dad, I paid the income tax. But who's going to pay 5% wealth tax? Means I have to sell my portfolio 10% every year, pay 50% tax, and then pay 5% wealth tax. So my father told me, if you are so worried, give me the wealth, give me the shares and the income, I'll pay the tax. But we lived in a world where there's no wealth tax. No, could anyone imagine it that took place in 92 as compared to 90? So I'm very optimistic. Always, I'm not very happy at the pace. But ultimately, we as a society will do what is necessary for the growth and prosperity,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And it is happening. It is happening slowly. But I think जैसे हिंदी फिल्म में बोलते हैं ना कि वो पंडित जी बोलते हैं कि शादी का मुहूर्त का समय आ गया है, लड़की को बुलाओ. तो मेरे लगता है अभी भी रिफॉर्म का समय आ गया है. Government has no alternative but to reform. And I think some of the reforms they have done in the agricultural sector are path-breaking. And I think the kind of public disinvestment which is going to take place of the public sector, in my opinion, is going to surprise people. Also, we have changed the land and land. So I think the reforms will come shortly. And imagine there was a law in India that if there is aloo, there's a bumper production of aloo in West Bengal, and aloo is selling at 1 rupee a kilo, you can't store potato because of the Essential Commodities Act. At least you have been allowed to store that potato.
Yeah.
You know what is going to happen, Ramdev? That the farmer was getting 6 rupees for potato and I was paying 40 rupees. Now we will get 30 and the farmer will get 40. I think that is the kind of change that is going to take place.
Yeah.
Plus, there will be a lot of- So I think I'm very hopeful. And I don't know one thing, sir. The lady who everybody calls me the big bull. Because bulls are called bulls because they are big. What is the meaning of calling a big bull? A bull is a bull because he is big. They call him a big bull, it makes no difference.
Yeah. One of the thing is that in 92, see, one of the thing in any country's history is that particularly poor country cannot manufacture foreign exchange. You know, I mean, one of the most critical component to live in this world, in the globalized world, is to have adequate foreign exchange. In 92, we suffered humility of sending physical gold to London for getting some credit line. And our import coverage was less than a week. I think our exchange reserve fell below $1 billion. Today, we have crossed $500 billion.
Right.
It has taken almost 30 years. But India, in its own way, has sorted out a whole lot of problems, like this forex problem, cement problem, food problem, milk problem. There are problems with every problems have been overcome, and we have come on top of it. This forex problem is a very intricate problem. And yet today we have 500 billion and maybe counting 20, 30, 40 billions in next 1 week or 10 days and kind of thing. I mean, so maybe the journey from $500 billion to $1 trillion will be amongst the fastest. So how does things, I mean, my sense is we have the pre-COVID growth rate also very low. So that also is another source of pessimism. And of course, COVID has happened. So that has also disillusioned a lot of people. But post-COVID and when you leave the ingredients in place for the country, I mean, I really feel that the story is just about to start. I mean, what we have seen is a trailer in the last 35 years. But do you feel that kind of possibility happening?
See, Ramdev, what we need to do is have ease of capital and rule of law. Right? Once we have that, see, there is so much capital in the world today.
Yeah.
There's a pension fund in Canada or America or Europe. The interest rates are negative of 1%. How is that person going to pay pension, which is a defined liability? And see, fortunately, India is an open country. India is a very defensive democracy, but whom anything and everything can be known. I think the only thing we got to do is we got to facilitate investment by ease of doing business. I think there are not billions, there are trillions of dollars waiting to be invested in this. Because, you know, here has got usage. From India needs education, India needs airports, right? India needs everything. You know, in a lot of other countries, where is the consumer? So I feel, and you know, I call Modi ji a distant because you know, he's one of the prime ministers who has seen poverty. He wants to help the poor, which I do appreciate. But he knows that to help the poor, he has to facilitate investment. So I personally think the ease of doing business. See, in India, it's not easy to change anything. This twist with socialism in India has created such vested interests, right? I mean, the kind of reform the central government is trying in the power sector. The state governments want to give power without having to pay for it. They want to give the farmer free power and they don't want to pay for it. They want the other consumers to pay or the discoms to go bankrupt. I mean, in Punjab, if you're a farmer, you're given free power, and if you use less power, you're given money. It's a joke. So there are vested interests. These interests have to be overruled, and they will return. And I think BJP has got the political supremacy to be able to do it. And I think the Prime Minister also thinks as a businessman. Look at the way he changed things in Gujarat. One of the few, solvent electricity ports in India is the Gujarat state. There is no power cut in Gujarat. So I think the time for the reform has come. In the democratic conditions, it will take time. But I think we are there. मैं बोला ना बस अब शादी का अरे और बहू को लाना ही पड़ेगा समय हो गया है मुहूर्त आ गया है
राकेश 20 साल पहले China emerged. I mean, before 2000, nobody knew where China is.
Right.
And in 20 years, it is all over China.
Right.
I mean, would you bet on China for next 20 years? Would you bet on China or India for the growth and prosperity?
It is China or India. Why it is for all? It is both. I think we complement each other's growth. Why do you feel that we can? If China doesn't grow, China only we don't grow. I think we can help each other grow.
Yeah.
And actually, if see the Chinese are according to me suspicious and very aggressive people. I don't trust them at all. But sit at a table, can we afford both nations to not cooperate in economic matters for some 50 kilometers of land? What difference is that land going to make to India? Not that I'm saying we are going to defend that land with all our might. And I compliment the manner in which we have put the China on the defensive. Right? We have managed to do what America did not manage to do. But so therefore, I don't say it's if and but. I think both of us can. But I personally feel whatever change takes place will be more permanent than China. And there are two very dangers in China which I feel. One is the debt levels are 330% of Indian debt levels are 125, 130%. Any society that reach those levels of debt has always had problems. Second thing is, at some point, wherever there has been there has been pressure, and there has not been social freedom. Societies do erupt. So I don't know when they will erupt, but I think unless China liberalizes its own economy, liberalizes its own social system, lets dissent take place, I think there will be trouble in China sooner or later.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not as as easy in China as people would like me to believe.
But yeah, last 5 years have been very challenging in terms of economic growth. I mean, we are all getting used to 6, 7, 8% growth. And if you see the last 5 years, whether it is economic growth, whether it is corporate profit growth, and whether it is a stock market performance, while you have done exceedingly well even in the last 5-year period, but the overall economy, the belt which drives the stock market or the corporate profits and hence the stock markets themselves have all really done very badly. When you reflect back at these 5 years, we were all equally optimistic 5 years back. What really went wrong? And do you see some of those changing going forward?
I think there were a combination of factors. First, I think there was a complete cleansing of the Indian corporate sector, which put the businessman on the defensive. Right. Second thing, certain wrongs were being corrected, but they were like suppose the incorrect allocation of the coal mines. Now that was wrong, but that was the Supreme Court undone it in such a way that it affected business. Then we had an overinvestment cycle. That cycle had to be corrected. Along with that, we had the new. So I think it was a combination of factors, and the biggest combination to me was the paralysis in the banking system because of the undoing of the extensive investment cycle between 2009 and 2012. Second thing I think was, the cleansing of the corporate sector which inhibited it. Then were the reforms. Basically there was change, and that change basically stopped us to some level. I also think, especially at the state level, there was excessive spending on welfare without the states having the resources, which has affected the capital investment in our society. But I see all that overturning now, right? You're going to have a far more of efficient corporate India. I think what people are not understanding is in the market, and that 2008 and 9, we had a scene where the corporate sector had just come off from a major investment. After 2012, there is very minimal corporate investments in India. Second, people had lost a lot of money in 2008-9 because there was mass retail participation in the stock market between 2005 and 2008. In the last 3-4 years, there has been no participation in the stock market in India. Also, I think there is a realization with the government, especially the Prime Minister, and I have no information that reform is needed, right? And the kind of change that had come in agricultural reform, you cannot believe we have yields lower than Bangladesh and Pakistan. Yes, our yields are lower than Bangladesh and Pakistan, right? Our pesticide and chemical use in farms is 0.5% per acre, or 75% of what is in Pakistan. So the change in the agricultural sector, what is going to lead is what is led by the cleansing. We're going to have more efficient use of capital. People formerly only companies went bankrupt. Now promoters also go bankrupt. Process has extracted a price, but what it is going to do in the future, it's going to use for higher yield of capital, right? If we are able, if the government is able to push through the reforms which the Ministry of Power has suggested, I think it'll be the kind of change that will take place in India is unbelievable. And I feel there is a new with the government that we have to promote this, especially after the conflict with China. So I see major reforms, and see if anything is in this country, right, the change, once it is done, the kind of acceptance and the kind of follow through. So I'm hopeful. I have been hopeful, and I remain hopeful.
So a lot of the problem.
See, when you talk about the stock market, don't compare India with America. America has the highest level of profits to GDP. India has the lowest level today. They have 32% of household wealth as equity. We have only 4 to 5. So both on the EPF side, India is the vertically opposite side of America.
So actually 2 questions. First is, all the problems that you cited 5 years ago, a big investment cycle that has corrected, corporate balance sheet leverage that is corrected, right? The banking sector NPL issue, a lot of them are recognized and now provided for. The corporate banks are now in a much better shape. A lot of these problems are now behind us. As you stand today, do you see any more problems? I mean, there are a lot of good things. I mean, one market, GST, Aadhaar, the benefits will really be seen when we are growing at 7-8%. The agri reforms you spoke about, the possibility of divestment now that there is a large fiscal deficit. There are a lot of things to look forward to, but are there any more problems that you see today?
I think the biggest problem is that government not act. I mean, it's also disinvestment of the public sector or electricity reforms. See, a lot of things has to be done by government, right? And one thing which you missed, which is very important, is that the cleansing of the sector is going to lead to more efficient use of capital.
Yes.
And this far more efficient use of capital to really promote our country. So I don't see. I personally feel the government has now understood the urgency and the kind of government, the kind of capital it has. Only one person has to understand the urgency, Not many are needed. And I think that a sense of urgency has been achieved. So I am quite hopeful. What India needs 100% is a reform, right? If businessmen are smart, they will adjust. They have understood कि हो जाएगा, कर लेंगे, ले लेंगे, दे देंगे, पटा लेंगे, बुलवा देंगे. All that is not possible,
Yeah.
right? That attitude will change. And government has acted in mining. They have done something. In agriculture, they have done something. Public sector disinvestment, they're talking in a big way. A lot of states have changed the land law, right? So I'm hopeful. Government has realized how Andhra Pradesh did not want to honor the agreements for the power plants. How forceful the government said no, any contract signed has to be, honored. And government has realized that there are too many laws which have to be followed. So I'm hopeful change, and see the market is also silently recognizing that.
Hmm. Yeah. Rakesh, one of the thing is that most of the businessmen in last 3-4 years I used to interact. I mean, we keep talking to the channel and other things. They're saying कि साहब business तो है, लेकिन पैसा वापस नहीं आता है. So liquidity was a big problem for last. I mean, the monetary policies were not supporting what the fiscal policies were. I mean, जो आपने इतने बड़े reforms किए, whether it is demonetization, whether it is IBC, whether it is RERA, whether it is GST. So, we killed the inflation. We didn't bring down the inflation. We killed the inflation. And the process of killing the inflation was you drained the liquidity out of the system. Because in demonetization, all the cash went out, and the check, there should be more than adequate check money available, which I think was in short supply till about 1 year, 1.5 years back, when the liquidity was always, in absolute scarcity. And too much of focus was there in reducing the interest rate artificially, rather than providing enough liquidity.
Now the interest rate has been reduced.
Yes.
Companies are getting CPA 4%.
Yes. So what I'm
saying, which I borrow money has gone down to 35%. So now liquidity is so abundant.
Yeah.
Right? And see, one thing is there that India is ultimately a capital starved nation. We need foreign external money for investment, right? And we need to raise the savings rate also. So see, all this money is not there. All that every project, it is a good project by good promoters. Every project is getting money. What is problem is not that, the problem is economy. And I feel personally that if demand comes, right, and we create ease of doing business and rule of law, the kind of money that will come into this country, I'm telling you, will surprise you. What is 500 billion? We'll have 1 trillion. In fact, it will become a chance to hold the value of the rupee. So what we have to do is create ease of doing business. See, because look at Apple. You forget, if we impose an import duty, right? And Apple is this third largest market in the world, right? They would actually like to manufacture where they sell, right? And government will realize that you cannot compete in manufacturing with other nations unless you change things on the ground today. One of the reasons why they want power reform is they have realized that because of cross subsidization, the price at which power is available to industry makes it uncompetitive. So, but see, this change cannot take place in a day. And see, for companies, liquidity depends on the superiority of the product. Before ITC dispatches the cigarettes, he puts the check in the bank. That is the superiority. What's the problem with ITC? So if there are good, and see, there is going to be complaint. People were, prior to GST, nobody was paying taxes on plastics in Gujarat. Now they have to pay tax, some units closed down. So they are complaining now. I mean, I don't understand this logic here. That if you are not paying taxes, now you're required to pay taxes. The unit closes down. What's wrong? So the change has been absorbed according to me. People forget that predictions were that GDP will go up from 2 to 6% if GST is imposed. And we have imposed GST and succeeded in stabilizing it far faster than any country. In Malaysia, it took 5 to 7 years. So I don't see any reason why, I realized that in 2014 we had a false start, a false bullishness, which ended in 2018. It did not translate into earnings growth, right? And we had a bear market from 2018. But I think now things are set to.
So I think, Naveen, let's move to the investing part of it, where I think people are very eagerly waiting to hear your all the insights. And let me, for the viewers, just maybe even, I don't know whether Rakesh himself knows that Buffett himself became billionaire, dollar billionaire at the age of 56. Am I correct, Naveen?
Yes, exactly.
56. And as per our understanding, you became dollar billionaire at the age of 50.
Right.
So that itself is a huge compliment. And I mean, he has journeyed from a billion in 56 to now 75, 80, $100 billion in next 30, 35 years. And so, I mean, so far you have done very well. I mean, at your level. And so it's so, it is on the back of, see, there are very few guys, Rakesh, who have made money out of others' businesses. I mean, most of the multi-billionaire dollars or $250 billion, these global guys, they are out of their own business. The success in their own businesses. Not very few guys have been able to do it like Buffett. And here in India, you have done it, that you amassed billions out of the businesses of others in your portfolio. So, and it happens on the back of few multi-baggers in your portfolio over a period of time. Okay, so I mean, what are your thoughts? What it takes? I mean, from your multiple companies, many companies were 200, 300, 400 times. You are tired of even counting how many companies would have done 100 times or 200 times in your portfolio. Okay, so obviously you have some knack for picking multi-baggers in your portfolio. So can you help people? Or I mean, of course, people need a bit of luck, but I think luck is there with a lot of people. Everybody has the same amount of luck. It is the same market. So what is the difference? I mean, what it takes to pick up successful multi-baggers?
I think first it takes to think independently, right? Then stick to your opinion. Hold shares for long periods of time, right? Not do what is, it's very popular to do what's popular in stock markets, but I've learned it's not very profitable, right? And it requires guts, it requires more, I think it requires luck, it requires persistence, it requires an attitude of risk taking. I mean, even today in the market, I am buying the most battered stocks. The stocks which market says will close down, right? I am seeing what chance there is to close down, what is the downward risk, and what the possible upsides are. And I'm buying the most unpopular, the most battered stocks. Examine that change will come. I realize that the downsides are very limited or nearly nil. The upsides can be very high, and I put my money. So I got a 10 bagger in 5 years. And I put substantial, I bought 12.5 million shares on a share which paid 1 lakh a day. That's how God has been kind. I mean, I think it's more to do with independent thinking, my frosty and gutsy nature, and then back my thoughts with conviction, and not feel bad if I underperform. Because other shares perform, then you feel left out. You have to have the courage of your conviction.
Yeah, one of the sectors where we've seen new listings in the last 3 years and some large ones is the insurance sector. In fact, while it is large globally and also represented in the index, Nifty has zero insurance exposure, and now the first insurance company is entering Nifty with HDFC Life, and there are many others listed and many will get listed. You have also some views on the sector, but on a 10-15 year basis, how do you look at this space? And given your own exposure, how would you look at this sector?
I was very bullish on this sector, and I invested 1,400 crores of rupees in a single company, Star, which is about $200 million. So, that's a big investment. So I am extremely bullish on the insurance sector, and I had my take by investing in Star Health. But I think the valuations which are there in the market today are not very conducive. I mean, the valuation I try to invest in, I nearly invested in a life insurance company, right, which was that federal IDBI, but I don't understand that business over here. That AP and how you value it, I said, I lost my mind. Right? So I have my exposure, I'm very bullish on that business. Because the point of view of savings India are going to grow, and I think maybe I'm prejudiced, the best opportunity is because health is going to grow the because health may add, especially after COVID, the health insurance is going to be manifest. And today you can cover a family for 5 lakhs, a payment of 1,000 rupees a month. It's immediately affordable. So I'm bullish on the insurance.
Right. And yeah, the other sector that you spoke about just a few minutes back, I mean, you know that telecom companies have barely gone back to the market cap they had 10 years back, one of the bigger companies. And India's biggest company now also has a is the largest telecom player. I mean, you are using so much more data, you are using so much more voice, but you're paying so much less. What are your thoughts on this? Like, there's been a complete demise, and now you're seeing some comeback.
Yeah, so Rakesh, it has been a wonderful conversation. I think now you have not had even water. So so thank you very much for this free flowing discussion. And so I think we have run out of time. Thank you very much.
And Bhaiya, while we have seen you touch billion at 50 versus Buffett at 56, we wish you, Buffett is turning 90 in August of this year. And we
I would
wish
like
you
to age, not his billions. I'm not concerned about billions, I'm concerned about the age.
That's what. So my
तुमको ऐसा बिलियन का एक स्टोरी सुनाता हूँ कि Forbes first told me that I'm a billionaire in 1948 when I was 48 in 2008. In 2009 my portfolio collapsed. So my friends used to make fun of me. Are you still a billionaire? I said, boss, I'm still a billionaire, but I don't know in which currency.
So I'm not wishing you you reach 100 billion. That you will. I wish that you have the age of Warren Buffett, who turns 90 in August. And I'm sure.
And his wife and mistress both.
Yes. So wish you great health. I hope you clock 100 there. And I think rest of the numbers will all fall in place anyways. And good health and stay safe. Thank you so much, Bhaiya, for joining us today.
Thank you.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, Mr. Ramdev Agarwal, and Mr. Naveen Agarwal. It was indeed very interactive.